Hello, I'm Esther Gitu. It's Wednesday, August 17th. This is Africa 54.
Raila Odinga urges his supporters to remain calm, while he disputes the Kenya presidential election results, a fight that is likely to end in the nation's highest court. Angolans living abroad are excited to be able to vote for the first time during the August 24th presidential election. And in our technology report, a Ghanaian computer whiz is on a mission to transform the country's approach to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
We begin our broadcast in East Africa, where Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga is urging his supporters to maintain peace as he rejects the presidential election results that had the Independent Electoral Commission and Boundaries Board declare William Ruto as the winner of the tight race. David Doyle recaps the hectic last 2 days.
Kenya's veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga has urged his supporters not to take the law into their own hands, as he rejected the country's presidential election results as null and void.
Our budding democracy suffered a major setback. As a result, Kenya faces a grave legal and political crisis as a result of the actions of Mr. Wafula Chebukati.
Odinga was making his first comments since Deputy President William Ruto was declared the winner of the August 9th vote. That announcement was made on Monday by the head of the Electoral Commission, Wafula Chebukati. But moments earlier, his deputy, Juliana Cherera, and 3 other commissioners had disowned the results, describing the final tallying process as opaque. The 4 officials appeared again on Tuesday to stand by their decision.
The Commission has to process the results before they are declared and announced by the chairperson.
Odinga broadcast those comments before taking to the stage on Tuesday. He went on to say that Monday's results must be quashed by a court of law and that all constitutional and legal options available would be explored.
Such blatant acts of impunity can be a threat to the security of our country.
The chaotic scenes on Monday raised fears of fresh violence in a country with a history of post-election bloodshed. Odinga has faced calls from home and abroad to resolve any disputes through the courts. Kisumu, an Odinga stronghold in western Kenya, saw clashes between protesters and police overnight. But on Tuesday, quiet had returned to the streets.
David Doyle of Reuters filed that report. Kenya's declared President-elect William Ruto held a news conference Wednesday, attended by members of his party. He vowed to tackle political tribalism by excluding public servants from political work and promised to promote a political culture where everybody can speak to everybody about everything in every way they want, saying nobody will be victimized.
I want to tell the people of Kenya, we are having our democratic country back. And everybody can speak to everybody about everything in every way they want. And nobody is going to victimize them. Public service will be professional, and I expect that the public service will serve Kenyans equally, without any preference to tribe, communities, or any preference to political affiliations.
Ruto also announced that members of his political alliance, Kenya Kwanza, will be appointed to the transition committee. For more on Raila Odinga's rejection of the outcome of Kenya's presidential election results, I'm joined live via Skype by Salim Lone, a former spokesperson and current advisor for Odinga. Mr. Salim, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
So let's start off with your reaction on Mr. Odinga rejecting the announcement of the Electoral Board that William Ruto has won this election.
Yes, Mr. Ruto has won the election for the moment. He is president-elect, not president. And in the Constitution, there's a very clear provision that if there is a dispute, it can be challenged in the Supreme Court. And the reality is that the fundamental aspects of a successful election were missing. The most important being that 4 of the 7 commissioners did not agree with the result that was declared by the chairman. And as we know, in the minor KI case, the court ruled very clearly that it is not the chairman who is responsible for verification, it is the commission, the election commission. And that majority of the commissioners have to support the announcement. So none of these 2 fundamental aspects were honored, and Mr. Odinga has challenged this and will proceed to court. And I should just mention that people were worried that even going to court is actually going to raise tensions. But to the contrary, as soon as Mr. Odinga spoke yesterday, whatever little violence or demonstrations were taking place stopped. So I think this is a lawful response, a peaceful response from Mr. Odinga, and let us see what the court says. We were very encouraged today, by the way, by the EU Foreign Minister's statement, Mr. Joseph Borrell, who said, who congratulated Kenya on the election, did not congratulate Mr. Ruto as the president. They said they noted the fact of Mr. Ruto and asked
Mr. Lone, the audio is a little bit shaky, but let's look at 2 scenarios. Given the fact that the Supreme Court has limited time to make a decision on this petition, let's address 2 issues. One, what happens if Mr. Odinga's petition is found to be valid? And number 2, what happens if the court throws this case out and says Mr. Ruto is president-elect, and that's final? Please address those 2 issues very quickly.
Well, no, it's very straightforward. In neither case will there be any violence. And if there is, it will be condemned by Mr. Odinga himself. As you know, in both 2007, when we had that huge violence, as well as in 2017, when we again had violence, Mr. Odinga in both cases accepted compromises. In 2007, he agreed to be prime minister, even though he thought he had won the election. And in 2017, after the violence, he reached out, or during the violence, he reached out to Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, and said, let's try to solve this issue once and for all, because we have already had 3 bitterly disputed elections. Let the next one not be the case. And we really did take the 4th one.
And what happens if the case is tossed out? Quickly.
Well,
all right.
If the case is tossed out, it'll be a shame. But let's wait for that to happen before we begin wondering what to do. But I do wish the media would pay a little more attention to the many issues that call into question the legitimacy of this election.
Right, Mr. Salim, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much. Salim Lone is a former spokesperson and current advisor for Mr. Raila Odinga. Angola has moved to ensure their citizens abroad can participate in this month's elections. Thanks to a change in the law last year, Angolans living abroad will for the first time be able to vote during the August 24th election. At a restaurant in Portugal, Angolan voters shared their excitement and worries about casting their ballots.
I feel very satisfied because I was anxiously looking forward to start voting and exercising my right to vote. So I feel very happy because I will contribute something to my country. Maybe this time there will be some political change, so I feel very good. I have faith, but to be honest, in a more practical way, I believe there will not be political change because there's a lot of vote manipulation. We know there are many problems on the African continent that need to be resolved. So there's a lot of manipulation of votes, and I believe that has already happened.
It's new. For the first time in history, an Angolan in Portugal in Europe who has registered can vote. That alone brings a lot of emotion. It's the first time in my life that I am going to vote. I didn't get to vote in the previous election, and this time I am going to vote. I am 51 years old, and I'm finally going to be able to vote, to be part of some decisions taken in my country.
All right, the head of Angola's Electoral Commission says that every ballot cast will be counted. Current President João Lourenço is seeking a second 5-year term. A controversial resettlement and land distribution effort by Amhara authorities in western Tigray, allowing ethnic Amharas access to land, is drawing protests from local residents. With rare access to the town of Marikana, reporter Henry Wilkins spoke to ethnic Tigrayans who claim they are being forced from the region and ethnic Amharas who claim they are neglected because of new arrivals.
The state-funded Ethiopian Human Rights Commission in Addis Ababa recently told VOA it could investigate claims of land being redistributed unlawfully in the disputed region of Western Tigray.
If these claims are verified, they're certainly, definitely very concerning to the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, and we will monitor and investigate. Yes.
According to a Reuters report published in June 2021, Amhara regional authorities were encouraging ethnic Amharas to move into Marikana in western Tigray, an area that has been administrated by the Tigray region for decades. Amhara regional officials claimed 500,000 ethnic Amharas were forced off their land during the 30-year reign of the previous government, dominated by one of the parties in the ruling coalition, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, which held power until 2018. VOA cannot independently verify that claim. The report also said Tigrayans were being illegally forced off their land as part of an effort to move ethnic Amharas into the disputed land, adding to rights groups' concerns of ethnic cleansing. Since then, Amhara officials have been reluctant to give information on the scale of the plan to settle ethnic Amharas in the land previously inhabited by Tigrayans. Some told VOA in May, however, that ethnic Amharas continue to move into the disputed land. But ethnic Tigrayans are not the only ones impacted by ethnic-based land distribution, residents say. Given rare access to Marikana, a town in western Tigray, VOA found a protest organised by ethnic Amharas against new arrivals from the same ethnic group. Protesters claim long-term residents are being neglected. Although VOA was advised not to film the protest, one demonstrator spoke on the condition his identity be hidden.
Today we were forced to go out to protest, asking for land, as we are the ones left behind after the massacre and need to till land for our daily bread.
The town of Marikana made world headlines in November 2020 when hundreds of ethnic Amhara civilians were massacred by ethnic Tigrayans. An excavator had to be brought into the town to bury the dead, according to local reports. Amhara regional forces then engaged in revenge killings of ethnic Tigrayans. Atakilt Hagos Kassa, an ethnic Tigrayan who has lived in the community for decades, said many people sought refuge in this church during the massacre. He says he was saved from an attacking Amhara mob by Amhara friends, but most Tigrayans have fled the town because they fear reprisal.
Almost half left the city during the night. Many of them went to Sudan. Some went towards Gondar. Members of well-to-do families went elsewhere.
The mayor of Marikana insists relations between the two ethnic groups have improved recently.
The people guilty of carrying out the massacre already left the city. Those killers will face trial. No one pushed them to leave the city. They left on their own accord because they know the land doesn't belong to them. That's why they killed and massacred.
He dismissed claims of ongoing ethnically motivated attacks against Tigrayans and played down the issue of land disputes and the protests taking place in the town that day. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Marikana, Ethiopia.
Tunisia's 2011 revolution was seen as creating the freest press in the Arab world. But today, many fear free-wheeling expression and media rights are eroding amid tightening authoritarian rule, bringing back memories of darker times in the North African country. Lisa Brandt reports from Tunis.
A demonstration in Tunis last month that didn't end peacefully. These are the kinds of incidents that worry rights groups and the journalists who report on them.
Ils m'ont frappé avec le coup de main.
I was attacked by a policeman as I was covering the violence against protesters. They hit me with their hands. I lost consciousness.
Watchdog groups and media here say attacks against the country's press have been growing under Tunisian President Kais Saied.
Ça devient de plus en plus difficile.
It's increasingly hard to be a journalist in Tunisia. Tunisia used to be the most open country when it came to press freedom. Unfortunately, we're no longer a model.
Tunisia dropped 21 places in Reporters Without Borders' latest Press Freedom Index, published after President Saied claimed far-reaching powers last year.
Voilà, ça c'était un des acquis les plus importants finalement de la révolution.
One of the most important achievements of the 2011 revolution was granting journalists the freedom to do their jobs. Now we're seeing a reversal with attacks on journalists and limits to information.
President Saied dismisses such concerns, which have only grown since his controversial constitution was adopted last month. In statements like this one released by his office, he promised liberties under his watch would be respected more than ever. Critics say that's not happening. They point to cases this year alone where journalists have been harassed, detained, and sometimes sentenced to prison. Still, they say there are no comparisons with pre-revolution days. Under autocrat Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, the internet was censored and independent media banned.
It was a total media blackout. You couldn't say anything. You couldn't protest on the streets. We were banned from doing anything.
Tunisia's 2011 revolution ousted Ben Ali and lifted press censorship, which included book bans. Online media played a key role in the popular uprising, both covering and helping to spread it. Saied's is not the only post-revolution government accused of threatening media freedom, but many say there were always channels to push back, which appear to be closing today. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Tunis.
Now to South Africa, where it has been a decade since 34 miners were killed in the infamous Marikana massacre. Two of the victims' wives say they are still seeking answers and accountability. Clara Frank explains.
It's been 10 years since Nosila Ngweyi and Zameka Nongu's husbands were killed on this small hill in South Africa. They were among 34 striking miners shot and killed by police in the Marikana massacre on August 16, 2012. The incident, outside a platinum mine in the Northwest Province, was the worst of its kind since the end of apartheid. A decade later, the widows of the Marikana victims are still seeking answers.
This incident happened when my son was 1. Now this child is 11, so always he's asking me, "Mama, why did the police kill my father?" I don't have answers for that question, especially as to what the actual reason for the killing was.
Given that these men died because of the police while the whole world was watching, there is still no one held accountable. People are living normally in their homes with their families. The policemen who killed are still roaming around. Our government still has not come to us, and we are on the 10th year.
The 10th anniversary of the killings is being commemorated in Marikana the Musical, being performed in the capital, Pretoria.
People are gunned down.
The musical's writer and director, Aubrey Sekabi, says it's important to maintain a conversation around Marikana.
It's an important piece of work to commemorate.
The musical, which premiered in 2014, delivers a detailed account of the events that led to the loss of lives on one of South Africa's darkest days. Clara Frank, VOA News, Washington.
Would like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come in our tech report, Africa's digital revolution offers abundant opportunities. But first, Heidi Adams tells us what's on tap for Wednesday's Straight Talk Africa.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, William Ruto has been declared the president-elect of Kenya after a very tight race. We'll talk about the political and economic challenges ahead in Kenya. We'll also preview the August 24th general elections in Angola. President João Lorenzo is running for a second term. Join me, Heidi Adams, on the next Straight Talk Africa.
Home is more than just shelter. A private place to raise children and a private space to process your inner feelings and thoughts. Regardless of where you live, access to affordable housing is always a leading conversation in the society. This week, we are taking a closer look at how accessible affordable housing is in Africa and how women are breaking barriers in the real estate market. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
In other African news, health officials are warning people who are infected with monkeypox to stay away from household pets since the animals could be at risk of catching the virus. A Nigerian court has ruled that an Islamic religious law does not violate the constitution, dismissing a challenge from seeing a sentence to death 2 years ago on the charge of blasphemy. But in a majority decision, the court in Northern Kano State upheld the lower court's call for a retrial. And Tunisia's new constitution, giving the president far greater powers, goes into effect after the Electoral Commission announced final results Tuesday for last month's referendum. In our tech report, Africa's digital revolution offers abundant opportunities across a wide range of areas. In Ghana, a self-taught computer whiz kid is on a mission to transform Ghana's approach to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through robotics education. He also believes he found a solution. Africa 54 technology correspondent Paul Ndiho spoke to Jonathan Kennedy Sowa, a Ghanaian entrepreneur and CEO of the Invotech STEM Center, who dropped out of school at age 13 to learn robotics.
Jonathan Kennedy Sowa, welcome to Africa 54.
It's great to be on your show too. Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me a little bit about Innovatech Systems.
Innovatech started as a club in senior high school. I went to a school and I noticed they were treating computer science as an extracurricular activity. I went to that school to do pure science as my major course so that I would become a neurosurgeon. But my faith changed when I didn't get biology to do. I decided to go into IT because I had a previous experience with IT. I had to drop out of school when I was 13 years old to work at an internet cafe so that I can learn computing skills, I can learn programming. So when I didn't get a biology, I started a club. To teach my colleagues and myself programming, computer science. We learned programming, graphic design, video editing. So it started as a joke, and then now the attention came to us because we are actually doing things. We've trained girls to create mobile applications that are like helping the community.
If I heard you correctly, you said that at a very young age, at 13, you quit school and got into computers. And here you are now, you run one of the most, famous Innovatech Systems in Ghana.
It's so intriguing because you meet students who think they can't do anything, who think they don't have any power, and then you give them the opportunity to brainstorm and to be creative, and they start creating amazing things. And you know, that moment alone is very fulfilling.
For you, computers is an actual thing because you must have started at a very young age.
I love computers. I love tearing electronic gadgets apart, fixing things, reverse engineering it and all that.
You are a self-taught computer whiz kid.
Yes.
How many people have you been able to train to learn how to code?
Since we started till now, we've been able to reach over 10,000 students and over 2,300 teachers.
I've seen some incredible stuff that you've done. Have you been able to get people maybe to buy into some of the things that you're doing, to raise funds, to continue doing what you do?
We've gotten some partners and we are looking for more partners to be able to, fund this project so that we can make them accessible and affordable to everyone.
What kind of robots are the students that you have in your classes making?
One robot is a fire extinguishing robot. That robot, the concept behind that robot is that you have a little robot in your house that will be moving around. When there is smoke or fire, it will sense it. There's another one that cleans the room for you. So it maps your room and then does the cleaning.
I would love to have one of those.
You will get one soon. Don't worry.
You've designed a security system where you clap your hands and the light goes off, and So can you speak to that? What's that all about?
It monitors your house. It tells you the temperature of your room. So when it's too cold, it can switch on your air condition. When it's too warm, it can switch on your air condition. It can also switch on the TV for you. So it's connected. It also has a feature that when you are leaving your home, you put it on, defense mode. So defense mode will let you know that someone has intruded.
Tell me something about your grandmother.
My grandmother is my world. She's my world. She's one person who has taught me a lot about, handling people and then about business. She has been really, really instrumental in my life and then in the business.
Jonathan, it's always a pleasure to talk to incredibly smart young people like you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be on your program.
That was Paul Ndiho speaking to Jonathan Kennedy Sowa, CEO of InnovTech STEM based in Accra, Ghana. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.